Ah, yes, Microsoft Paint. Beloved by professionals and novices alike, this program inspires even the least artistic among us to create art. And I'm gonna make it in Minecraft. To be fair, this was not my idea. All credit goes to the Vampire Queen from Reddit who came up with this first. But I saw it and decided to rip it off because I'm somehow out of video ideas after making just 3 real videos. I plan to touch up their idea a bit because, with no offense intended, I'd rather make this run without snowballs. And now for the part where I do what everyone else does and whine about how no one is subscribed to me. Apparently 0.6% of you are subscribed, so shout out to that amazing 0.6%. You guys are really the best. But if you're not one of those cool kids who are subscribed and end up enjoying this video, maybe consider subscribing. It really means a lot to me. But without further ado, let's make some MS Paint. So I'm thinking that the first thing I do is almost certainly just going to be define the area where I want the canvas to exist. And that's going to be based on a map, so that you can easily kind of, I guess, export your work into a map if you want to. So if I make myself a map here, we can just find the corners. So one here, and the other one right here. So now if I just get this block as well, and I can fill that with white concrete, and bada bing bada boom, we've got a nice white canvas here to work with. So I think the next thing that we're going to want to set up is probably some sort of cursor, because if you look at the clip, the way that they select their block is with snowballs, and that works fine, but if you think about what Microsoft Paint is actually like, there's like a cursor that moves when you move your mouse, but the screen stays still, right? So we want the screen to somehow stay still, but we want there to be something that moves around underneath you. So I think to do that, we're going to need to have some kind of entity to track the position of the cursor. Alright, so I have a bit of a system here that I'm about to test out. Effectively, what it will do is it will teleport that armor stand a few blocks in whatever direction I'm facing. Teleport it back to the Y coordinate that it's at right now, and then teleport me so that I'm facing straight down, so that hopefully if I try to look around, what it'll actually do is move the cursor. So let's give that a shot. I have this set up, and I cannot tell if that is doing anything, but I don't think that it is. But perhaps... Hold on. Alright, I tried turning up the strength a little bit, and it is still not doing it. So that's a bit of a problem, and I'm going to have to figure that out. Okay, now it is moving, although it is jittery as heck. And oh, another thing is that I can only move it forward. Yeah, this whole plan is kinda shot, I think. I was able to solve one of those problems when I tried doing it vertically instead of horizontally, but the screen was still super jittery, so I decided that I just needed to try a completely new approach. So I didn't want to have to do this, but I guess I'm gonna have to pull out my secret weapon, which is a little something called raycasting. Raycasting is a way of detecting where a player is looking by summoning an entity at them and teleporting it forward until it hits a wall. And it's typically used in data packs, because in data packs you can kind of create infinite loops by having a function that references itself. But with command blocks, you don't have that. And to tell you the truth, I've never actually tried to do raycasting with command blocks, but I guess I'll give it a shot. Alright, so I have something that I hope will work. It's pretty much exactly what I would do if I were doing a data pack, except these functions, the ones that would be in sort of the infinite loop if I were making a data pack, they're just on repeat like 10 times every tick, which hopefully will be enough that there's not much delay between when the entity gets summoned and when it kind of hits the canvas, so hopefully you won't even notice too much. And if you do notice, I can just add in more of those and it should sort of fix the problem. But now, let's see if that's working. And it does seem to be, and I would say that the delay is noticeable, but not super problematic. Although at further distances, well, I don't know. You know what the heck, there's no reason not to just throw in a few more command blocks and make it go faster. Alright, I've added in a few more command blocks. It's definitely better at short distance, and at long distance, you know, it's better. It's still not great, but that's fine. The biggest problem I have with this actually right now is that if you draw too fast, it will not fill in the space between. So this is kind of a problem that I always knew I would encounter, but I had hoped it wouldn't be quite so dramatic. But it is, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about it. Well, I have something that I hope will kind of solve this problem, so I'm gonna try it now, and if it works, then I'll explain it, and if it doesn't, then I'll make sure that I actually understand it. Alright, test number 2. Hopefully it will actually work this time. It's doing something weird, that's for sure. Alright, this is looking pretty good to me. It's finally sort of drawing lines between the points that I make, which means we don't get all those little dots, but rather one nice continuous line. So now I think I can go through and kind of explain the gist of this. So rather than explaining this command by command, I'm kind of just going to give you the gist of it all. Because to be perfectly honest with you, I kind of threw this together and I only half understand it myself. But without going into too much detail, what this does is it's kind of more raycasting. In that you sort of have an entity teleporting forward. The difference this time is that rather than teleporting where the player is looking, it teleports between two armor stands. So whenever you look around and make a new point, it sort of summons an armor stand at the first point, or at the last point, and also at the new point, and then it will teleport the armor stand forward to the new point, and at each step of the way it will set the block beneath it to be black concrete. I'm actually very glad that this is working because it's really quite satisfying, honestly. At the end of the day, I kind of like the delay because it's sort of fun to be able to just go whoosh across the map, and it takes a second, but it fills in after you. Okay, so evidently when I did this before, it did not record the audio, which is kind of annoying, but it's no biggie. I can just go through and show it to you anyway. The first thing that I did was I made it so that you're not painting all the time, and you can control whether or not you're painting remotely. And that's done with a carrot on a stick, which is a common method of detecting when a player is right-clicking. Of course, left-click would be more ideal, but it's a lot harder to detect. And the reason you can do that is because you can track how many times a player uses a carrot on a stick with a scoreboard objective, which means that when I use this carrot on a stick, I can very easily just have it start painting, and then when I use it again, it can stop painting, just like that. The next thing that I did was a color system, so that you can paint in multiple colors, and that's done with this block right here. So now what happens is rather than just setting the block to black concrete, it clones this block onto the map. So I can make this whatever I want. I can make this, say, cobblestone. And now it will paint cobblestone onto the map, which looks really weird. But the point of that is that it made it much easier to integrate the actual color selection system, which is inventory-based and super buggy, but I don't think that it's actually my fault. You see, the way it's supposed to work is you shift-click on it, and that should change the color of the block here, which it has done, and also clear out the duplicate item from your inventory, which it has also done. The problem is, if you do it twice before closing your inventory, it just does that, and it gets super confused, and it's supposed to be changing that, and putting more red stained glass back here and clearing this out, but it's not, and so I tried to fix that for a long time and eventually gave up. But at the end of the day, even though it means the system is kind of broken, it's not a huge deal because it rarely happens. It only happens if you click the same color twice before closing your inventory, which I don't know why you would do that. And if it does happen, you can just put the item back there and all is well. And so that, all in all, makes it pretty easy to paint with whatever color you want, Finally, the last thing that I added was a way to easily clear the canvas. So this utilizes the third and I would say least sophisticated but most simple method of remote activation with command blocks, which is simply you have an item in your inventory and you throw it out of your inventory. And yeah, okay, kinda lame, but it works really well and it's super easy to set up. It's just those 3 command blocks there. That's all I had to do for it. All in all, though, I would say I am super satisfied with the finished result. I am very glad that we managed to get the smooth lines working. The color system, though a bit clunky, is pretty convenient, and it works fine with the exception of that one small bug. Did we improve upon the Vampire Queen's concept? I would say not necessarily. Some things we did are a bit more convenient, like I would say the color selection system is a bit nicer, and also, we are, as promised, not using snowballs. But with that being said, in later posts, the Vampire Queen included some features that we do not have here, like color mixing. So with that in mind, I would say I would maybe like to someday work on this project a little bit more. I would say I had a pretty fun time doing it, and it seems like something that could honestly have a practical use thanks to its capability for easy map art. God, that looks washed out and terrible, but, you get the point. So if you want me to do this again in the future, then, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. If you don't want me to, then dislike or leave a mean, nasty comment, but maybe not too mean and nasty. But either way, thank you for watching until the end, and I will see you soon.